What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Optimus Fantasy Football YouTube channel. I am Nate Polvogt, joined here by the one and only Keith Flemming, a man who was on the radio last night with Mr. Bob Harris and Mike Dempsey. I told you this earlier today. Kid freaked out when he heard you on the radio. Thought it was so cool. Thought it was really cool hearing our company name on the radio, which I don't disagree. They said your name like 3 times over the hour prepping for you. So how are we doing today, Keith?
So much better. Was sick earlier this week, being punished for going to Vegas and having a good time last week, but feeling a lot better, thank goodness for steroid shots. Just wish I'd have got that a little earlier in the week when I first started feeling bad, but definitely excited about this weekend and a weird one. I have to really get into fantasy football and DFS now, even more so because the Falcons season is officially over. One of the best teams in the NFC is about to have a top 10 draft pick that was ours. Everything's awful, but it's kind of the norm around here.
Well, we'll start there. I mean, yeah, Michael Penix is done for the year, which is not good. Not only for Michael Penix's career, this is his 3rd torn ACL. Which is very bad. Like, this could very well be the end of his career. We're watching it happen here. But it's also bad. Bijan Robinson, he's going to take a hit. Drake London, when he's back, he takes a hit with Kirk Cousins. This offense becomes far more conservative because you can't do some of the things you could do with Penix. Obviously, Kirk Cousins is immobile. What's going to happen to this offense, Keith? I mean, you're right there in the thick of it.
It's pretty depressing. The only thing that I can hope is that the Kirk Cousins we saw against Miami, which I just want to remind people at home, granted without Drake London, I will give them that. That's a big deal. It's not like Atlanta has a ton of pass catchers. We scored 6 points at home versus Miami, one of the worst defenses in the NFL. So I don't have a lot of confidence. I think that if you want to play like who's the winner, probably Tyler Algier and Kyle Pitts, because Pitts had his most effective fantasy day, 9 targets, 9 receptions in the one game with Cousins. And to your point, I would have to assume they're going to run it even more. You know, I've for a long time taken a lot of crap because I think we screwed up taking Bijan. We should have taken Jalen Carter. It's nothing against the player Bijan is. He's incredible. He's a luxury. We are a bad football team. We hadn't had a winning season since 2017. We need dogs, like guys that are going to make impact on games, play after play after play. And Bijan gets stuffed a lot, like he just does. And if we're going to become this like real running team, you can't have these drives where Bijan gets stuffed on first down, stuffed on second down, and Kirk Cousins in 3rd and long. It's going to be a lot of 3 and outs. Tyler Algier, on the other hand, is somebody that doesn't have the explosive plays, obviously, that Bijan does, but he does consistently get 3-4 yards almost every carry. And I could see him being utilized, obviously, more. Maybe I'll be, again, surprised. Maybe Cousins was just rusty. It had been, a year. He was coming off the surgery, but he looked so washed. And then the little bit of makeup, or mop-up duty as we're in the 6-game losing streak that we've seen with him, it wasn't any better. So it's dark times, man, for a fan base that, just remember, we're still within a decade of 28-3. And honestly, I'm more depressed about this franchise moving forward right now than I was going into the season after that Super Bowl loss.
Well, and not without good reason, because you're not wrong. Look, I have no hope for Kirk. What we saw earlier this season is what he is. Look at his last 4 or 5 games last season before they benched him for Penix. Against New Orleans in week 10, he had 9.2 fantasy points, then 4.92 against Denver in week 11, 5 against the Chargers in week 13, 11 against Minnesota, and then 8 points against Las Vegas before he was benched for Michael Penix. And Las Vegas's defense last season was arguably worse than it is this season, and that's saying something.
It is. Yeah.
Yes. So look, this isn't going to be good all around, and it sucks for these assets. And you're not wrong. They needed to take Jalen Carter, not Bijan Robinson.
100%. By the way, Falcons 5-13 in their last 18 games with the Raheem Morris, Terry Fontenot era. And I'm worried that one, if not both, may come back next year. So, we'll see. I will say that I think Drake London still will be okay too. We did not see Kirk Cousins with Drake London. I think, and obviously I'm biased being a Falcons fan, but I think Drake London is now one of the best 5 receivers in the NFL. The New England game is a prime example. New England's really good versus wide receivers, and they just said, screw it, we're going to throw him the ball 13 times, and he had over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think he is that guy, and he will make Cousins better, obviously, when he's there. But this week, with Mooney and Pitts being your top pass catchers, man, the New Orleans defense could end up looking like the 85 Bears. Or the 2000, what was it? The 2000 Ravens or 2001 Ravens for you younger folks.
Yeah, the Trent Dilfer led Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, Keith and I talked about this on the DFS show, and we recorded it earlier. New Orleans is a team that we're kind of going after a little bit as a cheap play in DFS because they're playing Atlanta. They've got Kirk Cousins, and you don't have Drake London, which severely limits what this offense can do. I do see a bump for Pitts, though. I mean, and to be fair, the bar for tight end 12 is roughly 9 points. So he's
4,300. He needs 12 points basically to, get your 3X number, which if you do cash like I do, that's always my goal, especially with the cheaper guys. And he scored 15 points the first time him and Cousins played together, again, with no Drake London. This is the exact situation. It's also in a dome, which makes me, at least think that Cousins' arm won't fall off.
Sure.
If it was outdoors somewhere cold. He's only getting $100 million, though. Again, this GM, he only gave $100 million to that dude.
God, we talked about bad contracts on Monday with the Kyler Murray contract. The Kirk Cousins contract's just as bad. We got
Don't forget, we lost a draft pick for that as well, for fucking tampering.
Oh my God, that's right.
People always forget it. It's ridiculous how bad the front office is. And again, this is their 5th year that Terry Fontenot and this group's been running Atlanta's front office. We have yet to have a winning season.
Dude,
man.
Yeah,
it's rough, man. Good. It's rough.
It's rough. I mean, to be fair, before we got Peyton Manning, after the John Elway years, it was ugly. You've got Georgia. I don't even have CU, which is right up the road from me. I can almost see the school. And we were supposed to be good with Dion. We don't even get that.
Are people still going to the games?
I mean, based on the traffic on Saturdays when there's a home game behind my house, yes, there definitely are.
That's the main thing.
Yeah. Well, tickets, I don't know how. Tickets are $200 for crap seats, but alas, wow. No, it's insane. Tron Force 8199 on YouTube, Keith. With Dart out, would you pick up Trevor Lawrence versus the Cardinals, Jordan Love versus the Vikings, Jameis Winston versus the Lions, or Tyler Shuck versus the Falcons? He's got Chris Olave. I'm leaning Shuck here. Which way are you leaning?
Man, this is so depressing. Thanks for breaking this news for me, because I had not seen that Dart was out, and that's so depressing. Right thing to do. Again, if the Giants have any sense, Dart's really good. I was wrong. This dude is good. It's a wash season. Just let him sit. They fired Daboll because he was having 7 designed runs a game with your franchise quarterback. Because what does he care if he ends up getting fired? But anyway, to answer his question, I like Jameis Winston. It's the same reasons, though, that I like Jackson Dart. The Lions are going to score so many points on this Giants defense. In case you haven't noticed, Jamar Gibbs is on a heater. He's almost averaging 30 points per game over the last month. That's with a game where he scored 6 points. So if you're not good at math, that's 33 points per game in the other 3. And then the Giants run defense is terrible. They allow 5.5 yards per carry, 150 yards per game. And then on top of that, if that's not bad enough for them, the Giants run man defense at a top 5 rate in the NFL. Guess who destroys man defenses? Both Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams actually ranks top 6 in yards per route run, target rate, fantasy points per target, fantasy points per route, all versus man defense. So I think they're going to score a bunch of points. What does that mean? Giants are going to be in chuck it mode versus a Detroit secondary is not great. Like, it's just not. So I think the Lions are going to score a ton of points, but I also think the Giants will as well. And you can't run on the Lions. That's the other benefit. Like, I think they're second right now versus opposing running backs. So I just see it being a deal where Winston's going to get you, like, I think 15 plus points. And it's probably most going to come in garbage time. And there's a chance. Like, I really think there's potential because Slayton looks like he's going to play, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Slayton's
With Slayton playing, like, I really think Jameis can put up 15, 20 points. And Tyler Shuck would have been my second answer out of that. But I think the Saints are going to lean on the run. Falcons are horrible versus the run, and they're pretty good versus the pass. They haven't been as good lately, but I mean, they've been awful versus the run all year. So I just think Winston, because of the game script, it's in a dome. That's kind of the way the Lions games have gone at home. They've scored like 40 plus points, I think, in 3 of them, but their opponents have scored like 20 to 30. And I just don't think that's going to come from the Giants' backs. That means it's going to come from Jameis.
I mean, that's a fair point. The Giants can't run. They're relying on Devin Singletary at this point to be kind of their main goal line and short yardage back. That's not a good sign, right? It's not a good sign.
Not in 2025. I don't know if it ever was, but definitely not in 2025.
So let's keep talking about Jameis here. He gets his second start in New York, Keith. In DFS, he's 4,600 in DraftKings. Is he someone you're firing up in a lot of contests this weekend?
Fuck yeah. Like, as sad as I am about not being able to play Jackson Dart, because Dart made me a lot of money over the last 5 weeks. Like, its pricing even this week was still, what the hell just happened? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
That was weird. Oh, my screen just like completely freaked out. But Dart, for somebody in like the 5K range, consistently is scoring 20 plus points. Again, because the Giants defense is bad. They get down, and a lot of his points have been coming in garbage time. Now, granted, a lot of his points have came on the ground, but when you get a quarterback in the 4,000 range that you think can score 15, 20 points, I think you got to take it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Plus, look, Jameis is fun, right? And a lot of times with DFS gives you a reason to pay attention to a game. And I get to watch more Jameis, right?
Yeah.
There ain't nothing wrong with that.
I don't think Slayton didn't play in his first game, right? Either.
No, Slayton did not play last week.
I can't wait to see what those guys do, because Slayton is the ultimate like burner down the field. We'll have, those games where he has like 4 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. You're like, where the hell has that been? And Jameis is, we know that's kind of what he's made his living on his whole career is. Yep. He's not afraid to take risks down the field. So he had like the 30-30 season, right? Where he threw 30 touchdowns and 30 picks.
And Slayton has a 20 plus ADOT this season as well. So yeah, I know it fits perfectly. Joe Hammy mistakenly on Twitch saying, I just want Wandale the ball out. I do too. The thing is he might, I don't know.
It'll be helped a lot having Slayton there. Seriously, because teams will now have to respect Jameis throwing it over the top. And I think, again, like another thing that I thought Winston did a poor job of that Dart was doing really well with is like target those tight ends. Bellinger and Johnson are both really good pass catching options as well. And once you can start moving the ball in other places, that's when Wandale just starts racking up receptions. So if I'm correct and they move the ball in the second half, which I think they will once the Lions kind of put the game away, I think he could definitely feed, Wandale, Slayton, and again, maybe even Theo Johnson.
I hope so. Yeah, because Theo's volume before Jameis, 8 targets, 6 targets, 7 targets, 7 targets, and he had 5 touchdowns. We need more of those touchdowns. I like starting Theo Johnson. He's another one who's fun. And if him and Jameis start hooking up, whew. Yeah. Do you really think, though, is there a realistic chance that Kafka could shut down Dart for the season? I mean, I get the feeling Kafka wants a shot at this job in New York.
Again, this is coming from a fan. I do this, obviously, DFS show tonight, 9 p.m. Fantasy Six Pack. Check it out with Joe Matz. He is a Giants fan. He has been saying all season he expected Daboll to be fired, GM to stay. That is like, I guess, the word around there. And I know there is not a Giants fan anywhere that's like, we need Jackson Dart to keep playing the rest of the season. I mean, you've already lost Scatterboo, who looks like a potential just wrecking ball. And then obviously we know that Malik Neighbors is like that dude. So if you can just get Dart, healthy to next season, you bring back Neighbors, let's say Scatterboos, good. All that stuff is going on. Plus, they have all these talented pass rushers. Like I'll be somebody probably pumping up the Giants to win like 10 plus games, again, with an easy schedule and everything. So I would strongly consider it. I really think that's why Daboll was fired. Was they just, again, if you have somebody who is coaching for their life, what does he care if Jackson Dart ends up, tearing his ACL or whatever? Because if he doesn't win a certain amount of games, he knows he's not coming back anyway. And it sounds a lot harsher than what it is, because anybody would do the same thing in their position. This is their livelihood, right? So obviously he's going to do what's in his best interest, but that's not going to be what's in the best interest of your like franchise quarterback who's really good.
Yeah, like seriously, if they can just shut him down for this season, run Winston out the rest of the season, you get Neighbors back. I'm interested to see what their draft pick situation is, because you can maybe beef up that line in the first couple of rounds of the draft, get Dart some protection. I'd love to see what their cap space is. This is stuff that we'll start getting into a little bit heavier over the next couple of weeks as the season, at least fantasy season, kind of draws to a close.
And they have one good tackle. Andrew Thomas, now that he stayed healthy for a year and a half, like he's a stud. So to your point, maybe they can do like what the Chargers did, right? Where they went out and got Joe Alt, like 3 years after already having Slater. And that is, I think, something the Giants should look very strongly into doing, right? Like, is you add another stud tackle early in the first round this year, and you put him on the right side, and you have Thomas on the left, and all of a sudden you can go from one of, average at best O-lines and maybe one of the better ones next year.
Well, and you can even get super technical here, but you can go after some of these probably less prolific guards, but guys who are lighter that are good. Because with this team, they need to be pulling guards a lot with their run game, the way the Scatterby runs. So if you can get a couple of guys who are a little bit on the lighter side, maybe less expensive additions that you can afford in the cap, not as highly sought after, but they'll work well in your run game. Plus, with Dart, having those mobile interior linemen that can move as he moves, real important, right? Like, there's some things this Giants team can do to get considerably better.
You can build that through free agency, to your point too. Like the interior line, you can normally build through free agency. Look what the Bears did this past season. Went from one of the worst O-lines to one of the best for running the football. Tackles, you're going to have to invest, right? Like teams don't, it's like quarterbacks, right? Like if you have a great tackle, you're not going to just let them walk. So they're being re-signed. But these guards and centers and stuff, if you want to pay them, you can go get them. And they also, I believe, have a pretty good cap situation, because most of, again, their best players are all on rookie deals.
Yep. All right, we've got a question in the chat here, Keith, I want to get to. We've got Jonathan Santiago wants to know our thoughts on Kenneth Walker popping up on the injury report today. Do we think that Zach Charbonnet gets extra touches this week? I don't think so. It didn't sound like it was significant. It sounds like he'll be off the report by Sunday. So I'm not worried about it. No, I'm not any higher on Zach Charbonnet.
I'll go a step further. If for some reason Walker misses the game, Kenny McIntosh from my UGA will end up getting half the carries, and they'll still have like a split situation. Seattle seems bound and determined to have the thunder and lightning combination. They would still have that even without Walker, because again, McIntosh, that's what he is kind of a smaller back speedster. But I'm just interested to see how the season plays out for them moving forward, because I don't know about you, I got a little trauma flashbacks to Minnesota, Sam Darnold, the last 2 weeks of the season last year. And that that Rams defense is really good. So I want a preference by that. People are allowed to have bad weeks. It is a very long, physical, grueling NFL season. But I'm just saying, I just don't know any other quarterback that you can kind of tell by the end of the first quarter whether or not this is going to be like Sam Darnold, where he's completing passes 40, 50 yards down the field, dropping it in a basket, or days that it's like, oh my God, he might throw 12 picks.
The duality of Sam Darnold, right? Oh, man. McIntosh's on IR. So
that's how much I follow the deep roster Seattle backfield. So don't go for my takes there. Who does that commenter of mine let me know who that third string back would be, because I might try to add them in some of my deeper dynasty leagues just in case.
It's Holani.
Oh, that's right. See,
Yep.
I really may go try to add him. Thank you for that myth. Right?
Yep. Damian Martinez is on the practice squad.
Okay.
Out of Miami. Okay.
Oh yeah, Damian was pretty good in college.
Yeah. Just so everybody knows, if you're on Blue Sky, go follow this dude because he's awesome. That is Lou Brunson. You see him on shows
that's Lou
all the time here.
Yeah,
that's
I don't ever know handles.
Well, that's Lou on Twitch. So make sure you're following him.
That's why I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't need Python 27 on Blue Sky. Make sure you're following him, folks. Jamie Parag, I'm old too. We're basically the same age, Keith. Stop it. Jamie Parag, would you trade away a 2026 late first in Danny Dimes for Jackson Dart?
If it's a super flex, I would trade the number 1 overall pick next year and Danny Dimes for Jackson Dart. I don't think people realize what is happening. Again, he lost Malik Neighbors immediately. Their offensive line is average. Scattaboo, right? Like, was just incredible. He goes down. Yet this dude has scored 18.6 points or more in every start he's made this entire season. Like, he's been QB 3 of the last 5 weeks, including last week where he didn't even play 3 full quarters. He's averaging 10 points per game on the ground. His lowest point total as a rusher this season, 7.1 points. And you're like, well, yeah, Keith, he's just a rusher. They're not going to have as many design runs. They don't want to get him killed. Fair enough. From what I've seen from him in the past, he could do like Drake May has done this year and surprise everybody by not running a lot next year and have this huge jump in passing, because his numbers have been very similar on deep passes, completion percentage, etc., to Drake's Mays were last year. He's thrown a passing touchdown in 6 of 7 games, and it's not a murderer's row of receivers and tight ends that he's, throwing to. Like, I've been so impressed. Like, I kind of have no doubt, like, this dude is that guy, and he just, to me, seems a little kamikaze. So whether they're design running it or not, I find it hard to believe that Jackson Dart's not going to be running out there trying to make things happen. And those are the quarterbacks that, yes, there's risk involved. Hello, Jayden Daniels. But the upside is like a top 5 QB, and it's just huge. And their floor is so big week to week, which Dart, again, 10 points per game on the ground is insane.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would.
Dude, this kid's future is bright, man, and I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
We got Jonathan Santiago's got another question for us, Keith. Would you trade George Pickens for Quinshawn Judkins and Zay Flowers? In a vacuum, of course, because we don't know.
Okay. I was going to say, you know me way too well. In a vacuum, I would say no. But depending on your roster, I would say yes. Like, I'm assuming that you're probably a little weak at running back, and you're looking at it's not a huge downgrade at wide receiver. Like, I actually expect, and if you look at expected fantasy points, Zay Flowers should start scoring more points as the season goes on with this Baltimore team. And George Pickens is actually somebody who there really should be regression. Again, if you look at like expected fantasy points compared to what he's doing every week. As a Georgia fan, I'll tell you that Pickens is just that dude, and he was stuck in purgatory hell in Pittsburgh. Like, I think this is who he is when he has a quarterback. But like, I understand it. And I also think like Dylan Gabriel and, now Sanders, like, Judkins is going to get volume. It may not always be great volume, but he's going to get it. And if you're really weak at running back, it's not a bad flyer. And I don't feel like it's a huge downgrade at wide receiver. But again, in a vacuum, no, I would not, because I just think Pickens is going to continue to be like a top 20 guy the rest of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I do think Pickens is a top 20 guy, but if you're needy at running back, I would do it because I really do like Quinshawn Judkins. He's a guy who could fall into a top 10 finish really almost any week.
How good was that backfield last year at Ohio State? Because now we're seeing, why people were flipping out about TreVeyon Henderson this summer, and Judkins, again, behind just a mess of an offense. I thought he's been really good. And I think actually he's been nicked up. He's saying he's getting healthier. And that, again, could be a reason for him to what he did earlier this year, even against good defenses. He was having like big games and seeing huge volume, which he's still seeing the volume. He just hadn't had as many of the explosive runs.
I think he will this week. They're up against Las Vegas.
No, that's very fair.
Yep. We got Kenan Dollick 3713 on YouTube. Thoughts on Chris Godwin rest of the season? Of course, he's questionable heading into this weekend with that fibula fracture. We don't know if he's going to play. Keith, you seem to lean towards he is or is not going to play.
I just, like, if you're desperate, I get it. I do. Like, I have him in a league, for instance, where I am desperate at wide receiver, and I am praying that he comes back and looks 75% of what, we remember from Chris Godwin 2 years ago, before he got hurt when he was having, like, literally a chance at a legit wide receiver one season. But it's been a long time. Every time he seems to play, he immediately gets injured again. And at this point, like, I'm sorry, the Godwin that I've seen a little this year and last year is not better than Tez Johnson. So unless Emeka goes down, I still think at best he's going to be like the fourth option in that passing game. So I don't have high hopes at all. But again, if you're in a situation like I am, actually in one of my stronger teams, I'm just really weak at wide receiver. It's a weird league where you start a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and 4 flexes, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just been playing bully tight end, but that starting wide receiver is rough week to week.
Yeah. Look, here's where I'm at on it. We've seen him come back from these major injuries, and he's always slow to get back into full production.
That's fair.
I don't think we see him at full production the rest of this season for a number of reasons. The number one of them being Emeka Egbuka, and you don't have to. So why rush him back? Do you want to get one more productive season out of this guy, or don't you? Because you can get that if you don't screw him by playing him too heavily the rest of this season. You bring him back
for a playoff push, right? Because it looks like they're going to win the NFC South by default. So
you need Godwin at full speed. Maybe you get him back full speed by week 17 or week 18, but you keep him limited until then.
Makes sense.
You don't have to. Yeah, and that's just where I'm at with it. So for fantasy, it sucks. Maybe you can flex him. We'll see what happens. We're obviously not coaches. We're not in these offices. We're making best guesses on what we see, but that's what I see.
Doing our best Atlanta Falcons front office impersonation.
Yeah, well, at least we're not trying to be the Jets. Nobody listened to
Touche.
it.
Do you know that they have, like, their playoff drought, which is the longest in NFL history, 7 years longer than my Falcons and Panthers, who have the second longest drought. Yikes.
Sounds like the Jets.
They have not made the playoffs since 2010. Like, that is, in the NFL, impossible to think about.
And that was the
last Sanchez year.
That was the last Sanchez year. Okay, that was because
they went to the AFC title game 2 years in a row, lost I think to Indy both years, or maybe it was Indy and New England. But either way, yeah, they went from back-to-back AFC title games to not making the playoffs since.
Yeah, God, awful. Okay, we got this one from Jonathan Santiago, and then we're going to start working our way out of here, Keith, so people can get on with their Fridays. Running backs are James Cook, Josh Jacobs, Tyrone Tracy, Trey Benson, Zach Charbonnet. Wide receivers are Amon-Ra St. Brown, George Pickens, Cortland Sutton, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Chimere Dike. His league uses return yards. Dike has 198 points so far in his league. I'm going to say this is for this trade.
Oh, thanks for the context.
Yeah, no, the context is always awesome.
Can you pull back up his roster, though?
Yep, let's pull that back up.
Yeah, I get it this way, actually, more. Because, obviously, James Cook, hello. Even as one of his biggest supporters coming in the NFL, who thought that he could be an every down back. I think he's legit now, top 2 or 3. It's just a pure runner in the NFL, week to week. Like, he's just so good and so smooth. Jacobs, like, luckily appears like no matter what happens to him, he's just going to be like, tape it back together and I'll get back out there. So even though he's banged up all the time, I do trust him. But after that, it gets really scary. So I completely understand adding the depth when St. Brown is a very, to me, safe, like, wide receiver one. I think whether it's Dart or Winston, Wan'Dale does have value rest of season. Sutton is obviously like it is what it is, but who knows? We've seen Bo Nix and him go on heaters, so it's not like it's terrible. And even like the weakness of your receiver team, if it includes return yards, then yeah, I get why you're doing this. I don't think it's a huge downgrade, and it probably even gives you, not knowing the format, but a little flexibility at flex too, week to week.
Yep. Nope. I'm with you. I agree. I get why you're doing it. I probably would make a similar deal here. We've got Broly619 on Twitch. Pittman Jr. or Stephon Diggs this week. This is non-PPR. Which one are you rolling out, Keith?
So I have to say Diggs, only because, again, Cincy, they're just so bad. But I will say that Jonathan Taylor is doing a Superman impersonation this year. He's been incredible. Kansas City's run defense is no joke. I think that if Indy wants to win this game, they are going to need to throw the ball. And typically, if they have a good passing day, Pittman has a good game. Like, it's been that way all this season. And Rashee Rice is so tailor-made to just destroy this Indy defense that plays zone at like the highest rate in the league. And just, if you get a chance, go over and look at the difference in Rice's zone man splits this season. Almost everybody is the inverse, where they're better versus man than zone, because you run so many more routes versus zone than you do versus man. Rice goes from like under a yard per route run to almost 4 yards per route run, and goes from like 0.75 fantasy points per target to like 2.5 fantasy points per target. So I think he's going to have a big day. I think Kelce's going to have a big day, and that means Indy's going to throw a lot. But it'd be hard to sit Diggs versus Cincinnati with the way May's throwing it.
Yeah. You can't go wrong here. I'm going to lean Pittman. I'm going to lean
maybe
Pittman.
I should have trusted my instincts then.
Well, here's why. Because it's a bigger game for Indy. Like, they really need to win this game. But it's also, even more so a must win for Kansas City. They're 5-5 right now. If they lose here and go to 5-6, they're essentially going to be scrapping and praying for a wild card spot. But they're probably, they're going to have to win out to have a shot at making the playoffs at that point. So this is.
Well, don't forget too, they have 3 teams, I believe, ahead of them that have head-to-head wins against them. So it's even worse than you think. Yeah.
Yes, including if they lose, it's going to be very hard for them to get into the playoffs this year. This is a big game for Kansas City. They almost have to win out at this point if they want a shot.
But to your point, Indy needs to get it going too, because Houston is coming on like a gang of caged dogs with Davis Mills.
I know. And they're running side by side with Denver and New England as well. So you lose a game, you don't know that you're going to get that game back from either one of these teams.
Completely agree.
So this is this is my favorite game on the slate this weekend. I think it's the most important
1 p.m. game too, this weekend. Which I'm
it's a 1
pretty
p.m. game. So because of that, I'm going Michael Pittman, because this is a game where I could see him, if it turns into a shootout, having the Michael Wilson game where we see 18 targets, 15 catches, 180 something yards for him, and he gets a touchdown or 2. I also like Alec Pierce in this matchup quite a bit, where I think we could see him, again, if it turns into a shootout, we could see him in double-digit targets alongside Pittman. So, should be interesting. But yeah, so I'm going Pittman.
I like it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. We missed you last week, but and we're gonna miss you next week too. We're taking the week off for Thanksgiving. It's Turkey Day.
I actually was going to tell you I'll be traveling back from Rehoboth, Massachusetts, so I don't think I would have been able to do the show anyway. So that's actually good news.
We're going to be on a very limited slate next week, guys. You can tune in Monday for the Waiver Wire show. We'll have the DFS show. You will be there for that. Then we will have the DFS show on Friday, and then we will do start sits on Sunday, and then back to a normal schedule the next week. Well, folks, enjoy your Thanksgiving since we won't see you. We hope you have a great time. Get those fantasy wins. Have a lot of turkey if that's your thing, of course.
Deep fried turkey. If you are out there and you have not done deep fried turkey, I'm telling you, you'll never go back. So
we're doing on a charcoal Weber grill. I smoke it on a Weber grill.
Sounds amazing.
we used to do we used to do 2 turkeys. We used to do 1 fried and 1 on the Weber, but since I've transitioned, it's too much work for 1
No,
man.
frying it's a lot of work, but it just like you almost can't screw it up. Because even when it's a little overcooked, like you know how that happens, like especially like with the oven turkey, it's like chewing on rawhide. With the deep fried, it's still fucking amazing. It's just
Dude,
everything's so juicy.
I sit there and baste it all 6-7 hours that I've got it on
Well,
there.
I mean, now with like the kind of grills that they have where you can control the temperature so much easier. You know, some of them are electronically and shit. It's a whole different ball game. But you know, before that, like dude, it was always a tough battle with you know stuff like that for slow cooking. Like if you're not somebody has a lot of experience with that, 5 minutes too long or too short makes like all the difference in the world.
No, but this thing's like a 40-year-old, fully charcoal, fully manual Weber.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Old school, baby. All right, folks, we're going to get out of here. Make sure you like and subscribe while you're here. If you're watching the recorded version, head over to our Discord channel. The link is in the show description. And if you're listening to the audio version, do the same as well. We'll see you next week, folks. Adios.